All right, everyone, we're going to get started now. So if everyone can take their seats. Great. All righty. Before we start every class, we usually read chapter 25 out of the Holy Quran, divinely prepared by Prophet Noble Ali. If you are in agreement, affirm by saying Islam after I finish reading. All right. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother have given you son. You can hear me? Oh, great. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite you with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him out. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole nation, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. All right, Islam. How many people were here last week? So you got to hear the first part of Abdullah's lecture. It was great, wasn't it? Great. I was listening. He was awesome. Yes, he was. He was awesome. And it's wonderful when we don't really talk. I mean, we talk, but we're having these lectures and our information is on the same page. It's great when that happens because what I'm saying, he is bringing verifiable documentation, and what he is saying, I am bringing verifiable documentation. And if you haven't been listening, if you listen to the Tuesday broadcast, I was talking a little bit about, I had to remember what day it was. I was talking a little bit about the lectures that I've been listening to by Ivan Van Sertima, who validates us. Well, he supports what we've been saying. We both have been saying with verifiable documentation stuff. Dewey has come back, Abdullah Mosi has come back to do part 2 of this lecture. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Abdullah. Sorry. Yes. Oh. Well.
Thank you for having me back. There's lots of items and we have me back. Yes. Yes. So part 2, part 1 will be available for sale in May. I've been with my layout designer on Monday. So he has a good handle on the book, on the layout. And once he finishes part 1, he's gonna start laying out part 2. Because once I finish the chapter 3, which is the last chapter for part 1, I'm gonna finish it up part 1, part 2. All right, so I'm happy about that. I've been putting a lot of work into this. A lot of time. I've been working on this book for a long time. As far as researching stuff. I want to get some feedback before this is. I want to have a bridge from part 1 to part 2. What did you learn? What did you learn last Monday? What did you learn that you didn't know? Give me some feedback on what you what you learned last week. All right. The American. All right. And American national. You said. All right. Let's look at that word synonymous. All right. Now we were taught in school that synonyms are not we. I can't speak for you. I don't know what you mean. I was taught or indoctrinated that synonyms are words that have same meaning. That's not true. Synonyms are words that have like meaning. You got to understand the connotation. So when you're saying synonymous, you're not saying same. All right, like, but not saying same. So you want to say the word same. All right, don't. So we don't want to use the word synonymous. All right, because I know that you'll see the word synonymous and you think synonymous means same. Synonymous does not mean same. All right, very key to, and I'm glad you said this is important. Very important in reading. You know, but we'll say, you know, we'll oftentimes, because we don't understand connotation, we'll just simply pick a synonym, guesswork, not understanding its shades of meaning and its usage. So from this day forward, we know that synonymous does not mean same. Does not mean same. All right? Anyone else? Tell me, give me something. Give me something. You didn't learn anything, you know. Yes. Oh, you wasn't present. You weren't present. This is going last week, so let me get back to you now. Anyone else? I'll take your question. Go ahead. This is not all right. Let's take your question. Ask your question, guys. Ask your question. No, they don't. They're not considered to be Moors. They are Moors. I did that. I did that. I did that. So I listened. All right. Now, anyone else? To get last week, yes. We also were talking about how. And you played a very important role last week too. We learned about how Moors were the ones who ruled the ocean, yes, the commerce, and how you make other part in order to commercialize it and content for where they go, and then how they now they to here they teach people that other things. So the real truth is that Moors were the ones controlling the seas. Yeah. Back then they were also trading layers of light skin. Okay. Moors, and then there was a lot of things where the Moors and other, I can say it's right? Other cultures, other people were trading light skin skin people. As well as Albion. Yes. Albion. The point that I was making is that we were analyzing the transatlantic slave trade story, and looking at raising questions about it. Because our people have accepted that without question, and the Europeans have buried the history of our power. See, what I'm doing is I'm tearing down this European educational or indoctrination system, right? And the Europeans, their purpose is to present themselves as people of power, to instill self-esteem into their children. But it's not based in truth, though. It's not based in truth. So, and then what they do is instill, low self-esteem in us. So our people don't see themselves as being in a position of power. They see themselves as subjects in relation to the Europeans. So I'm challenging them, tearing that down. All right? Yes. Yes. All right. European is a Moorish name. They're subject to Queen Europa. All right, subject to Queen Europa. Yes, right, because we are the Aboriginal indigenous people of Europe. All right, yeah. Let's go back to next week. What did you get from last week? Immigrants in chains and immigrants in bondage. Yeah. Who's in other books too? Because you don't have a PhD. I don't have the books. Yes, I have references. I've referenced the book. Good. So we're talking about immigrants in chains and immigrants in bondage, and there's other books where Europeans were transported from England, also from Barbados. Tens of thousands of Europeans were transported from Barbados in chains. This whole myth about a misconception of Europeans just simply being transported over here on their free accord, that's false. They were it's falsehood, distortion, right? So once again, let's keep the questions to last week. Wow.
I learned more about the Aboriginal people and they are to Americans, not the Europeans.
All right.
Europeans are not Americans.
All right. Why aren't the Europeans the Americans? Because they're not indigenous to the land. All right. But they were born here. Wouldn't that make them American? All right. Why does not one become an American by being born here? Why is that not the case? I want to see where you guys are now, Someone else. I know. We might ask somebody else. I'm going to ask you the question, but I want someone else to answer. Yes. All right. So an American has nothing to do with where you're born. Has everything to do with. I love it. They remember the word proud again. Wow. Consanguinity. Just sanguinous. See? Oh, wow. All right. Because I don't want to jump into, part two. This is my style. I want to make the connection, see where you guys are. Yes. This is relating to. Yeah, all right, go ahead. No, they're not Aboriginal because they're not ancient. They're not ancient people, so they wouldn't be an Aboriginal indigenous anywhere on the planet. Absolutely not. All right. Yes. Yes. And that's exactly. They're hybrids. They're not the firstborn. They're not the progenitors anywhere. Well, they're hybrids because they were made. They're not natural. They're artificial. if understand, I don't want to. That's what I'm saying. We'll because it's right. Because I know it'll take away from. One more, because it's going to take away from the presentation. Because then I have to go. Yes. Yeah, and also the island of Dr. Monroe. Right. See, I'm not being evasive with that. It's just what happens is when somebody asks a question that doesn't relate to the presentation, then it happens. I end up spending 15, 20 minutes, and then another question's asked, then another question's asked, another question's asked, I've been doing this for a long time. She'll tell you. I know what I'm talking about. So I'm trying to discipline y'all. We're in school. I'm your professor. I want you to stay focused on what did you learn from last week's presentation. All right? That's all. Because I've taught over 800 students at Temple University past up, and I know how this thing goes. All right? I want to stay focused. All right? Anyone else? All right. Last week I mentioned this book, Unexpected Faces in Ancient America, and I gave you my website, moorishcivilletter.net, moorishcivilletter.net. You can find all these pictures are on my website, the video page on my website. All right? Now, yes. Have it. I'm just going to go through some of the images here. You see the cover. All right? See the cover? Unexpected Faces. Why do you think Alexander von Humboldt called it Unexpected Faces in ancient America? Why Unexpected Faces? Because indoctrination about what? Be more specific. What has been taught to us, and as well as to Europeans, that the ancient people or the people of America, or ancient people of America look like
What my research, watching the Eddie Collins, one of the documentary, they pretty much light skin and kids. They've been working and then the kids, I think called brainwash to create in the next generation of say that why the white collar is from there that we all come from hiding the real truth. So the truth you can never hide, but then the truth will always come up. So like me, and today, be honest,
stay on the question. Why did you think he called it Unexpected Faces?
I guess because nobody knows they can exist in that begin of
what and you in textbooks they say Indians. In class today we're gonna learn about the Indians. The Native Americans. All right, turn to the chapter, all right, on Native Americans. What do they look like in the textbook? What do the images of the facial features of the people look like in the textbook? What's that? All right. See why? That's why it's called Unexpected Faces. Because they've been indoctrinated to a different and distorted image of the Americans. And I said last week, I said that there is no distinction between the term Native American and American. Once again, I'm asking you why. There's no distinction between the term Native American and the word and the name American. Why is there no distinction? Exactly. American means native. Yeah, maybe. So you're being redundant. You don't have to say the Europeans added the word native, and they created the term Native American to falsely present a contradistinction when there is none. There's no contradistinction. All right? They wouldn't be synonymous. Be same. Not synonymous, same. All right? So Native American and American have same. All right? So we can show you some more of these. All right? Pictures of Olmec's head. Yep. All right. Veracruz. You guys see these? I need to walk away. Just, I didn't have this book last week, and I have this on PowerPoint as well. PowerPoint presentation. Now this here, I bought this at the American Indian Museum in D.C. American Indian Museum. Look at it. See why you called it Unexpected Faces? So you were to tell someone that you are American, native to the land, and you're a native, they would laugh at you. You would expect that. You know, in fact, if they didn't laugh, you'd be surprised. If they didn't give some type of look that you're weird or crazy or don't know, you know what you're talking about, you're out of your mind, you know, you'll be surprised. Yeah. Right? Right. Yes. These are pictures of how our people looked in 1800s. There's books called, there's a couple books, one book called Black Indian. They don't look like this. It's about 1800 now. It's 1800. Book called, quote unquote, Black Indian. They look like me. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking in the book called Black Indian. It's about 1800. They look like me. Right. So that's what I'm saying. Unless you're talking about paintings that's on textbooks. Photos of those on reservation. Oh, you talking about look like this? Oh, all right. I think you said look like this. All right. I got you. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. All right. Let me move on. All right. I'm going to give you some list of books. Finishing up from last week. This is Historical Manuscript Commission Reports on Manuscripts in Various Collections, Volume 1, London, 1901. See also letters by Archbishop Whitgift in 1596 for the redemption of captives, the life and acts of the Most Reverend Father in God, John Whitgift. For a history of the Barbary Company, see Chapter 4 in T.S. Welling's Studies in Elizabeth Foreign Trade. For analysis of a number of French captives in North Africa from about 1550 to 1830, and the percentage ransom by the Trinitarians and the Mercedarians. I mentioned that last week, that the Trinitarians were established by Pope Innocent III, as well as the Mercedarians, and the Trinitarian was established in 1109. The Mercedarians established in 1080, and they were established for the sole purpose of what they call redemption orders, to raise money to get Europeans out of Moorish captivity. We're going back even to the 1100s, right? And they continued. They made quite a few voyages. The different priests made quite a few voyages Moorish prisons and seeing those of French descent, English, Irish, Dutch, Wales, all right, Germans, and so they actually would they had at the churches they would have drop boxes, charity boxes, and they would actually put money in there, and they collected that to get Europeans out of Moorish captivity. This is a big issue throughout Europe. It's a huge issue, right? Yes. This was this is the 12th century. 1100s is the 12th century. What year? What year is that? I'm not. Well, this is 1080. 1080 was the Mercedarian order, and then the Trinidadian order was established in 1109 by Pope Innocent. Both of them by Pope Innocent III. The Trinidadian was established in France, and the Mercedarian was established in Spain. And these are huge orders. And later on, there were other orders that were established. So I'm just reading some references here. Proclamation, James 1st, June 29th, 1624, Charles Fitz, referee, compassion towards captives, chiefly towards our brethren and countrymen who are in miserable bondage in the Barbary. Calendar of state papers. I gave this last week. Calendar of state papers, foreign affairs, Elizabeth, 1558, 1589. You can get a lot of letters regarding diplomatic relations between us and Queen Elizabeth. You have here calendar of state papers. Edward the fourth, sixth. King Edward VIII. He established the Holy Trinity, or the Holy Trinity of Deptford. The Holy Trinity of Deptford was established in the early 1600s, and they are every transaction. They have a record of every transaction. This information is documented. This is documentary information, so the information is available. What it is that our people think they're black. That's it. They didn't hide it, information. They just classified it as black. So we're looking for some black history, some black people somewhere.
What I heard, what I read, that was the name. In fact, the group of that war with German war, they used to black it. They want to, somehow they want to, like say last week, that's too fast. They want to be called people Moorish, so they start calling them black. So black was shine.
Blade, coming from blade. Yes, shine, bright. That's the Indo, yes. Sanskrit. What they also did too was what the Greeks did. This is why these scholars going around saying Moor means black. No. What language label? When any scholar, I don't care who they are, these African scholars, whatever they are, they say Moor means black. This is your question to them. What language label? What language label? Ask them what language label. Greek. What the Greeks did was apply a connotative meaning to Moor. Moor does not mean black. That's a connotative meaning in Greek. So the whole purpose was to suppress the Moorish nationality. So what they've done was associate the identity with complexion. Barry Fell of America BC, and also Professor Emeritus of Harvard University, states that America is derived from a more ancient name, Muru, means land across the sea. So Moor, as well as American, all right, different pronunciation, refers to land, having nothing to do with complexion. The Greeks did that. And so these scholars are following the Greeks, these African scholars, following the Greek definition, which is connotation, and they're using that as a basis to which to challenge. So they're challenging us. Just hear me out, brother. Just hear me out. Just hear me. Because I'm supporting what you're saying. I'm expanding on what you're saying. So when you, and what also would have it is that black was added to Moor. And they'll actually use black to refer to Moor to refer to complexion, but that came from the Greeks. All right. Anyone else before? Hold on. Question? Anyone else? Question? Comment? All right. Go ahead. Ask your question.
I was going to say, I hear a lot of connotation.
Yes. All right. No problem. No problem. I'm going to do that right now. I'm looking for something to demonstrate. All right, here we go. All right, this is, I'm going to use something. All right, phone, cell phone. All right? We're going to explain the difference between, in order for you to understand connotation, you must understand denotation. I'm going to explain it. Denotation is what the word is, the object. So you say you have chair. I and I've used this a lot. You have the word chair, and you have the object chair. All right? So the word chair denotes this object. All right? It has, so if you're looking at concrete, you're talking connotation, you're talking abstract. What the Greeks did was when they created a system of abstract thought. To suppress history and culture, the Greeks removed the concept of the object and relation and the word relationship. I mean, there's a word, and there's an object. So if I say the word pen, say the word pen. What does the word pen denote? What does it refer to? What does it signify? What does it indicate? What is its reference point? The word pen, the word pen. All right, I'm taking one out now. The word pen, the word pen signifies, refers to, all right, this what? Object I have in my hand. So I'll say, what does the word pen denote? Answer the question. That's it. All you got to do is just point. You only got to say it. If you point it, that's the correct answer. If you said pen, that's wrong. The word pen doesn't denote the word pen. The word pen denotes, that's denotation. All right? The purpose of connotation is to remove the concept of the object. So when you do that, you create distortion, lies. All right? With the Greeks, for example, the word consider means to observe the stars carefully. What the Greeks did was remove the object, star. Now you have the word think, ponder. Consider doesn't mean think or ponder. It means think or ponder about the star. So when you remove this object, now the word has great elasticity. That's distortion. That's how the distortion is created. All right? You understand? All right. You're welcome. Another question? All right. And I do this because I want to make sure that people are clear. So let's go right into, I gave some references. Now, this book, this whole research for me began when Brother RVBey gave me the George Washington's letter to Muhammad ibn Abdullah. He gave that letter to me in 1993. So I'm going to read the letter. So you can. Then we're going to put this in a broader context. To the Emperor of Morocco, that's Muhammad ibn Abdullah. He reigned from 1757 to 1790. 1757 to 1790. That was his reign, 33 years reign. And most of his reign was during the time of King George III's reign. King George III reigned from 1760 to 1820. So you're looking at 60 years for King George III. 1760 to 1820. Muhammad ibn Abdullah, our Sultan, when the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, was signed, reigned for 33 years. City of New York, December 1st, 1789. Great and magnanimous friend, since the date of the letter which the late Congress, by their President, addressed to your pure Majesty, the United States of America have thought proper to change their government and to institute a new one agreeable to the Constitution, of which I have the honor of herewith endorsing a copy. The time necessarily employed in the arduous task and the disagreement occasioned by so great, though peaceable, revolution will apologize and account for your Majesty's not having received those regular advices and marks of attention from the United States, which the friendship and magnanimity of your conduct towards them afforded reason to expect. The United States having unanimously appointed me to the supreme executive authority in this nation, your Majesty's letter of the year August 1788, which by reason of the dissolution of the late government remained unanswered, has been delivered to me. I have also received the letters which your Imperial Majesty has been so kind as to write in favor of the United States. Keep that in mind. All right? Favor of the United States. All right? To the Bashars of Tunis, we'll go back to that, and Tripoli. And I present to you the sincere acknowledgement and thanks of the United States for this important mark of your friendship for them. We greatly regret that the hostile disposition of those regencies towards this nation who have never injured them is not to be moved on terms in our power to comply with. Within our territories, there are no mines, either of gold or silver, and this young nation, just recovering from the waste and dissolution of a long war, has not as yet had time to acquire riches by agriculture and commerce. But our soil is bountiful and our people industrious, and we have reason to flatter ourselves that we shall gradually become useful to our friends. The engagement which your Majesty has been pleased generously to give to our commerce of your dominions, the punctuality with which we have caused the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1786, June, signed by him, Muhammad ibn Abdullah, in June 1786, ratified in January 1787. With us to observe and the just and generous measures taken in the case of Captain Proctor, I got that letter too, Captain Proctor, that we had in our captivity, make a deep impression on the United States and confirm their respect for and attachment to your Majesty. It gives me pleasure to have this opportunity of assuring your Majesty that while I remain at the head of this nation, I shall not cease to promote every measure that may conduce to the friendship and harmony which so happily subsists between your empire and them, and shall esteem myself happy in every occasion of convincing your Majesty of the high sense which, in common with the whole nation, I have entertained that magnanimity, wisdom, and benevolence of your Majesty. In the course of approaching winter, the national legislature which is called by the former name of Congress, will, as a parenthetical, will assemble, and I shall take care that nothing be omitted that may be necessary to cause the correspondence between our countries to be maintained and conducted in a manner agreeable to your majesty and satisfactory to all the parties concerned in it. May the Almighty bless your majesty, our great magnanimous friend, with the consent, guidance, and protection. I started my research with this letter. I analyzed this letter. I read this letter to death. I analyzed every part of it. And I said, I'm looking, and I said, this is. I need to look at this in a broader context of history. So I'm looking at, the letter to Capital Sponsor. So I began my research then, and actually, in 1997 was when I actually began the research in earnest. And in the fall of 1997, I went to the National Archives in Philadelphia for 5 consecutive months. It was open. I could only go on weekends. It was open on Saturday. So for every other Saturday, for 5 consecutive months, I went to the National Archives. Took 50 notes with me to make copies, and I came across a host of letters between the diplomatic relations between us and the European powers. So now, and I continue my research, and I came across the Consolidated Treaty Series that I mentioned to you last week, and at Rutgers University, third floor law library, and I saw treaties between Morocco and Netherlands, Morocco and France, and Morocco and England. It took me 4 or 5 months to copy every treaty. The treaties between Morocco and France are in French. The treaties between Morocco and the Netherlands are in Dutch. So I copied every treaty. It took me time, because I could only copy it in the library. It was 10 cents a copy. So you're talking about a lot of finance. So it took me a period of 4 or 5 months to do that. And I learned a great deal as I'm doing this research. What I learned was that the treaties protected, the tribute treaties protected the English colonies. So we can't start with the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, like 1774, 17. We got to look at it in a broader picture, because the relationship didn't begin there. The relationship began with England and Morocco, not Morocco and the United States. Not Morocco and the United States. That's not the relationship to begin there. All right. So we look at that. So what I'm doing is making a transition from part 1 to part 2. So that the relationship goes further back. We're looking at the 1500s. Queen Elizabeth, with Queen Elizabeth in the 1580s, when she entered a treaty agreement with Ahmed Moulay in 1580. They were corresponding, many correspondents. This is why the state papers, foreign affairs. All right, those correspondents are in there. So the treaties, the agreement was that as long as England paid us annual tribute, we would not seize their ships. That's okay. So we're talking about way before the Treaty of Peace and Friendship now. All right, way before the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. We go back to 1500s, 1600s now. And so that relationship was already there. So England paid us annual tribute. Well, we still, being the hungry people we are, the greedy people we are, we continue to seize their ships. And I said to you last week, in the Shriners Parade, they have miniature corvettes. Well, corvette is a small speedboat. So we would ride our small speedboats or corvettes up to their ship, climb aboard the ship, and seize the entire crew and as well as the ship. We would capture the crew and seize the ship. So what the Europeans are doing is reacting history in the Shine Parade. Right? So that's now we seized quite a few colonial ships. You know, because in textbooks you learn that Spain and Portugal were the seafaring powers during the 1400s and 1500s. We know that that's not the. We can disprove that. All right. So of course we don't question it because we don't have a basis in which to question. Why would we question it? We just going to accept what's in the textbook. Spain and Portugal were seafaring powers, and Europeans brought 10 million of us over here. All right. Not 1400s, 1500s. So, not in the 1600s. France, Portugal. No, I'm talking about what is purported. I'm not saying what is. What's in textbooks. I'm not saying what is. What's in textbooks that you guys, that all of us, all right, was indoctrinated to, subjected to read, is that Spain and Portugal, into textbooks, were the seafaring and commercial trading powers during the 14 and 1500s. Then later it was France and England and the Netherlands, the Dutch. Right. So now let's go on. Now, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, because the Europeans, yes. I'm saying they were making treaties. We were making treaties with them. We Morocco, all right, entered negotiated treaties with England. We are the superior party to the contract. We weren't seeking to negotiate treaties to enter in treaty agreement with them. They were seeking to do that with us. All right? They seized our ships as well, but we were the dominant power. They were not the dominant power. All right, so what we were doing was seizing their ships. What we were doing was we were collecting ransom. What we were doing was we were capturing Europeans by hundreds of thousands. That's what we were doing. All right? We were the dominant seafaring, commercial, trading powers during the 1500s. We go back to the 1100s, 1200s, 1300s, 1400s, 1500s, 1600s. That's what we were doing. That's our power. All right? Did I answer that? All right. Yes. Yes. All right. Well, all right. I want you to answer that. I'm going to facilitate, and I'm going to have you answer that question yourself. Think about last week and what I laid out. What I laid out last week is to have you re-examine the transatlantic slave trade. See, what was it that? That's here. That's here. The Kingdom of Morocco. All right. The Kingdom. 56. 1956. All right. I got you. I wasn't clear on the question. All right. Yes. Is everyone clear all right, I know you're clear now, sister, that this is Morocco, that you're in right now, that this is the Moroccan Empire, that you're on right now, that this is Moroccan Empire. Can we defend that? Can we defend our business? I say, if you were to talking to somebody, family members, to friends, co-workers, so forth, and you say to them that this is the Moroccan Empire, can you defend that? Can you support that claim? You're making the claim that this is the Moroccan Empire. Can you support that claim? I need more than one. I want to hear one for sure. I want to hear one. I came here last week, though. All right? I want to hear one. Can you support that claim? All right? Consolidated City City. Come on, y'all. Can you support that claim? That they transatlantic slave trade BS. In order for them to get that off, they have to cover this up. They have to cover your power up. They can't. I got you. They can't have you see that you were empowered during that time period, 15, 16, 1700. That transatlantic slave trade becomes on. They can't afford, being the European occupiers of our land, afford to even question this transatlantic slave trade story. It doesn't hold its weight. It's easy for them. I got you, Tim. I got you. It's easy for the European occupiers of Moorish land to get that story off because they control the schools. They control literature. So they can get this story off and you're not going to question it. Why? Because you don't have the basis, the information to which to question it. They tell you that Spain and Portugal were the seafaring powers in the 15th and 14th century. You're not going to question it. They're going to tell you that they transported 10 million. If they said 3 million, you're not going to question it. They're going to tell you all your ancestors came from Africa, on slave ships. You're not going to question it. You have no basis in which to question. I came last week to give you some foundation, basis in which to question it, providing you with information, documentary information of our power. Once you are clear of our power during that time period, you can challenge that claim, that transatlantic slave trade claim. All right? Yes, you first. You ask it next. Okay. Mm-hmm.
You know that. You should establish Morocco here. Right? But instead, it's not where at.
All right. Well, the Empire State, the reason why, particularly upstate New York, upstate New York, what is it's actually Morocco, what they call upstate New York. All right? I know the exact location. The reason why this is called the Empire State, because this is the seat of the Moroccan Empire. It's not a coincidence. Once you understand the history, you can see why they do call certain things, all right, things a certain way. Because this is the seat of the Moroccan Empire. All right? Next. What about it? I can't. I'm trying to be clear when you Kingdom of Morocco. All right, but that's not who they were dealing with during the 15, 16, 1700s. They weren't dealing with the kingdom during the 15, 16 here. This is Morocco. This is the Morocco they were dealing with. What? All right. You weren't here last week. Brother, you were here. I would have to do part 1 again.
You can listen to the archive.
Yeah. I have to do part 1 again. I mean, this is part 2. I proved it last week. So you're going to get the tape. The DVD. Brother got the DVD. You got the DVD. You say you got me to prove it. All right, come on. Got the DVD. You go purchase the DVD. That's what I'm asking you a question. You got to get the DVD. But I can't do part 1 again. Not tonight. You may go buy the book in May. You buy the book in May. Buy the book in May. All right? Get the DVD, or you listen to the Box Talk show last week. Because that's what I did last week. The way I proved it is to show that we were in a position of power that they couldn't have gotten at all. All right? Also, during that time period, 400,000 Europeans or more were transported in chains from Europe to the colonies. During the same time period. So now you got this massive transportation of Europeans, all right, Ireland, all right, to the colony, Barbados, all right. Now you're saying they transported 15 million. The port was 15 million. That $5 million away, all right. All right, keep in mind, we were seizing their ships. We were the dominant seafaring commercial trading power during that time period. They were not doing this. Back and forth. They had to cover this massive history up. Once you start examining your power during that time period, it unravels the transatlantic slave trade. That's how I prove it. By looking at our power. Tremendous power. We enslaved our own people as well as the Europeans. The so-called Arabs that they write about did not look like what Osama bin Laden. They look like you. They didn't look like what Osama bin Laden. 900, 1,200. Let me tell you, it looked like you. When they have an Arab, they got a picture like Osama bin Laden, that complexion. Nah, brother. Thank you. Europeans don't owe us no reparations, brother. Europeans owe us. Hold on. Somebody give me a basis in which the Europeans owe us reparations. Based on the true history, not talking about the false history. Based on true history, how do Europeans owe us reparations? Based on the true history, not the false BS, how do they owe us reparations? Are we enslaved in it? Istanbul Ali ruled from 1672 to 1727, 60 years. They Europeans call him blood. I think I would call him bloodthirsty too. They call him bloodthirsty. You know why? He was ruthless. He cut Europeans' heads off, huh? Your man. Your emperor. Europeans are cool. Yeah, they are too. But what about us? I can't say the bias game, bro. I want freedom, bro. I want freedom, bro. The world knows the history, bro. So I ain't playing the bias game that we pretty good shoes ain't do nothing. So I ain't playing that. I'm not playing that. All right? You can play that if you want. All right? You can play the pretty good shoes, ain't done crap to Europeans, and well, that's lies. All right? Another question. All right? There's too much documentary information, bro. We're talking about state papers. All right? We're talking about letters and treaties. I got a list of 50 books, bro. All right? No, I know. I'm saying, so I want you to get the DVD, and I want you to examine my presentation. All right? Analyze it in the context of your power, because we've been indoctrinated to believe that we had no power, that the Europeans just, these Africans sold, Africans into slavery to the Europeans. Africans sold 15 million. Africans sold 15 million Africans to Europeans. That's what the story is, right? Yes. I didn't say they did. I'm just saying that's the story. No, it didn't happen, fam. That's what I'm saying. I didn't say it happened. I'm saying that's what's been purported. I'm not saying that. I'm saying African scholars are saying that. Abdullah is not saying that. Abdullah is not saying 15 that. I'm saying we are indigenous to this land. That we was not transported on those slave ships. That's what I'm saying. You're a Moor. Yes. All right. We got. All right. Listen. Brother. Listen, brother. Brother, this here. Hear and ease. Just hear and ease. Just listen. That's all. Go ahead, Annie. Listen.
Your nationality is based on your mother. So your mother comes from the land they identify as Jamaica, which is part of northwest Mexico. You are American, okay, because of your mother. Has nothing to do with your father.
And it's
when your mother came here with her eggs already.
The bloodline is determined by the mother. This whole patriarchal, because it's patriarchal concept is the concept of the woman taking on the man's name. That's birthright theft. That whole fact, I don't support that. I don't support the birthright stealing practice of a woman taking on a husband's name. That's birthright stealing. That practice, that wasn't always. See, we don't know. We're thinking that was always the case. We're looking at what's going on today, and we think that was always the case. Brother, ancient civilization is matriarchal and matrilineal. There were societies that were governed by women. So we're talking about matriarchal, women rule. Matrilineal means mother side. All right? Where the wealth is passed down to the woman side. Europeans know this, but I'm telling you, Europeans know this well. They know it well, bro. Well. They can make your head spin that they know it well. They know it well, bro. Bro, why do you think they married our women? Not men. Women. Not men. Women. Not men. They ain't married the men. They married who? Talk to me. Talk to me. The Europeans understand that the wealth is passed down to the woman's side. Brother, you're talking about thousands of years of practice that the Europeans still adhere to. They're covering it up. They still adhere to this, bro. They're covering it up. See, they want you. That's for the, bro, this whole giving this honor to men, that's for you. That's for the public. All right, they put that public, yeah, the man. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. No, they know that's for the public, for the, these indoctrinated public that they know it's the woman. Professor Leakey, a skeletal remains called Lucy. Lucy means light. These documents proves that everyone living, everyone smart and conscious everyone who's living today, modern country can be traced back to Lucy. This whole race paradigm, you're not a man, a woman. That's a European saying that. European saying that. All right? Are you clear? Are you clear that you are not an American because you were born here? Are you clear on that? That you're not American because you were born here. Has nothing to do with, and being American has nothing to do with when you're born. So that's just solely, that's birthright theft. The Europeans are pushing just solely to steal the birthright. It's just sanguineous, blood, not where you're born, your lineage. If you were born in China, you what? All right? So there's a distinction between a Chinese citizen and a Chinese. Chinese citizen based on the naturalization laws, and if China has just solely, all right? If China doesn't have just solely, then somebody being born in China doesn't even can't claim Chinese citizen based on that. They don't have just solely. All right? They have to have just principles just solely in the naturalization laws. Yes. All right. Hold that question. All right, I can put it on in your pocket. Yes. So the landmass, that is what is known as Africa today. We have our people on. All right. One, now keep in mind, this landmass, see, it was never called Africa as far as the whole landmass. That's a distortion, bro. That's actually a distortion. So you have, these African scholars, have referred to the entire landmass as Africa, because they see that on the map. Europeans did that. All right? And so you have different kingdoms. Even in Nigeria, which is not Nigeria, that's 4 kingdoms. Nigeria is 4 kingdoms. The Europeans did that. So your father's not even Nigerian. Is you? Which one? Not Nigerian. Don't say Nigerian. As long as you don't say Nigerian, we're cool. Thank you. As long as you don't say Nigerian, we're cool. As long as you don't tell me your father's Nigerian, we're cool. Once you say your father's Nigerian, I'm challenging you. If you say your father's Nigerian, I'm challenging you. Am I right on this? If your father was here today, he would agree with me. If your father was sitting here today, he would agree with me. Berlin Conference, 1880. During the Berlin Conference, they call carving up Africa. And Nigeria, which ain't Nigeria, all right, it's 4 tribes. They brought together, not Europeans, all right, and they called it Nigeria. They're not Nigerians, Cameroons, they're not. That is not the ancestral name. So they're not Cameroonians. They're not Nigerians. All right. So we just in the big force. They're Moroccan. All right. So study the Berlin Conference, 1880. You need to understand this thing that you need it for you. You need that so that you will stop calling your father Nigerian. I want you to stop calling your father Nigerian. That's all. With information, not because I say so. I want you to be very clear, unequivocally clear, that your father's not Nigerian. So that you're not what? My father's Nigerian, my mom's Jamaican, your mom's not Jamaican, and your father's not Nigerian. So why do we still stop these terms? No, why do you? No, why do you? Not say me. I mean, Pete, no, why do you? I'm at
Why do you? Yeah, why do you keep calling your mother Jamaican and your father Nigerian? Because you didn't know. I know that. I know that. Brother, right now I'm talking to you. I want you to be clear that your father is not Nigerian. I want you to be clear that your mother's not Jamaican. All right? I want you to be clear on that so that you can stop saying that my mother's Jamaican and my father's Nigerian. They're neither one. They're Moorish. Please.
I know what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying. All right, and I understand what you're saying, and everybody in this room, that's why they're here, including ourselves, including myself, including everyone who has ever been who's been teaching this information, because the one thing that we are very aware of is that we are Moors, which means first navigators, Aboriginal indigenous, on all four corners of the earth, and that this is about the uniting of Asia, which is the name of the planet, the whole entire planet. And the one thing we're sure of is that we, who may call ourselves Negro, Black, Colored, African American, Pan-African, we generally will call ourselves anything and everything except for who we are, which are Moors. And if I can add, that is why Prophet Noble Drew already said that. I just came to teach you to be yourself. And he said that I also came to take you out of the mental slavery. And that's what causes us to continue to say we're these things. And the other thing, lastly, and more importantly, and why we're even here and do the blog and do everything we do, is because we didn't know. So the answer to the question is, we didn't know. Now you have people that will continue to want to call themselves these things because they still don't know, so they need to study so they can find out. Instead, what they do is they attack because they're attacking what they've been taught. And it's just like he just said about the mother matriarch. Nature is the matriarch, period. And you're not going to change that. He said the Europeans know it. So they taught you the patriarch, make you think it was something else. Why? That keeps you from getting to where you need to get.
That's it.
It's just that simple. Because you have to get there. We all have to get there. So that's all I really wanted to add, that it's appreciated what you...
I love this. I love this interchange because this is how we develop. You know, when you're involved, you know, in the dialogue. So this is why I facilitate this. You know, it's important to me. I don't want to just stand up here and just put in information. I want to see where you are. I want to be engaged and make sure that you're awake. You know, I'm boring. If I'm boring, y'all. Okay. All right. Good. So continuing this in the letter that I read, George Washington's letter dated to Muhammad ibn Abdullah. He thanks the Sultan, His Imperial Majesty, for honoring the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. That Treaty of Peace and Friendship in 1786, signed by him in June 1786, ratified in January 1st, took 10 years. It was 10 years in the making. It didn't just happen. Europeans could not keep up with the tribute. The United States could not keep up with the tribute payments. You know, so they wanted a lasting and permanent treaty. So I want to look at this. Now look at this here. Using naval force or diplomacy. This is one of the sections in the book, chapter part 2. How the United States should respond to Morocco's attack on and seizing of United States ships was a major subject of debate among the United States legislators and ambassadors from 1774 to 1805. This ain't taught in school, right? Talk about a major subject of debate. How would they respond to our attacks? Our seizing their ships and also hold them in captivity. George Washington wanted to maintain the customary practice of King Charles II and first, and James I and James II, and all right, he wanted to maintain that customary practice of paying the annual tribute. Thomas Jefferson, who was the Secretary of State under his administration at that time, he wanted to go to war. Thomas Jefferson didn't believe, and his position was to go to war instead of paying the tribute. Now, the issue was that the United States thought they couldn't afford to go to war, all right? That the Navy was not strong enough. So they thought it would be more feasible to continue to pay the annual tribute. Thomas Jefferson wasn't having that, so there was this big, debate. The legislator to decide on whether to continue to go to war, or to pay the tribute. This was huge. Now, I'm going to give you some references. Let me look at this. Are you aware that during George Washington's administration, between George Washington's administration and John Adams' administration, the United States paid us $10 million in tribute. This is, this is huge, y'all. I'm looking for this. All right, here we go. Here we go. This is from the Barbary Wars, American Independence. This is the title of the book. The Barbary Wars, American Independence, and the Atlantic War by Frank Lambert, Lambert. I'll read it again. The Barbary Wars, American Independence, and the Atlantic World by Frank Lambert, Lambert. Quote, though they wanted access to wider markets and freedom from trade restrictions, colonial merchants had enjoyed certain benefits by trading within Britain's closed colonial system. One enormous advantage was the protection of American merchants' vessels under treaties that English monarchs had negotiated with the Barbary states and enforced when necessary with the British Navy. The Treaty of Peace and Commerce between Charles II and the Dey of Algiers, dated April 10, 1682, covered all the dominions and subjects of either side. Even as Congress boldly declared independence from Britain, the delegates recognized that American merchants, I'm just quoting here, they're not American merchants, that American merchants, sailors, and shipping became fair game in the pirates from Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, and Tripoli. Accordingly, the wartime Congress sought a new protector and found one in Britain's arch enemy, France, which promised in 1778 Treaty of Amity and Commerce to use its good offices to protect American interests against the Barbary powers. In summer 1785, American troubles with the Barbary powers took on much more sinister tone, ending wishful thinking about free trade. On July 25th, an Algerian Zebek, which is a small mast vessel of 14 guns, intercepted the Boston schooner Maria. Isaac Stephen, who was the commander at the time, as it passed Cape St. Vincent on its way to Cadiz and imprisoned its 6-man crew. Less than a week later, an Algerian corsair captured the ship Dolphin of Philadelphia. Richard O'Brien, who was the captain at the commander at the time on the ship, bound from St. Herbes and took its 15 crew prisoners. Now, Barack Obama, let's start with Bill Clinton. And on June 20th, 2000, he was president at the time. Bill Clinton, when he was president, addressed the king of Morocco, which is, Your Majesty, America will never forget that in 1777, the first nation in the world to recognize the United States was the Kingdom of Morocco. Quoting. 10 years later, our two countries approved a treaty of peace and friendship, which today remains the longest unbroken treaty of its kind in all history. In the days since, we have stood together to live up to that treaty's idea that to secure its blessings for others. Now, Barack Obama, in his speech at Cairo, Egypt, dated April 6, 2009, states, I also know that Islam has always been a part of America's story. The first nation to recognize my country was Morocco. In signing the Treaty of Tripoli in 1796, our second president, John Adams, wrote, quote, the United States has in itself no character of enmity against the laws, religion, and tranquility of Muslims, end quote. Now, that treaty of 1796 was supposed to end tribute payment. Karmali, wanted, despite the treaty, he wanted to continue to collect ransom from the United States. This would spark the war in 1801. When Thomas Jefferson became president in 1801, he maintained that position to go to war. So Thomas Jefferson, despite the treaty, went to war in 1801. Any questions before I go on? Now I read the treaty, the George Washington letter, to over 5,000 students in the Kansas City Public School. I read excerpts of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship to over 5,000 students in the Kansas City Public School. Yes. To the shores of Tripoli. Yes. Yes. Well, the students would ask me, Mr. Bey, why isn't this taught in the schools? When I read the letter to them. Why isn't this letter taught in the schools? Because that was not part of the curriculum. Another thing that I also did to over 5,000 students, I presented the presidents of the Continental Congress. Not one of them knew one president of the Continental Congress. Griffin, Bootnot, Griffin. Not one of them knew his name. I'm saying his name, Griffin, Bootnot. Thomas Griffin. All this Bootnot. They don't want a new name. Why? Why don't they discuss the president of the Continental Congress? They'll just say Continental Congress, but not the president. They don't go into depth with the president of the Continental Congress. You know why? Because during that time was when the treaty was negotiated. Now we're not talking about. It took 10 years in negotiation. All right. Samuel Huntington, president of the Continental Congress. All right. I want to read. This is why I wish I had more space here so I can spread these things out. All right. All right. Samuel Huntington to Sultan of Morocco. This is Letters of Delegates to Congress, Volume 16, September 1st to 1780 to February 20th to 1781. So I'm looking for the letter. 16, 17. I thought I had the letter. I had the letter, but I can't find the letter. All right. 1 minute here. I had it smoothly last week because I had more space. So just to lay out the papers.
Do you need help?
I'm just gonna move. All right, so I'm gonna read this here. This is not the letter, but this is from the Constitution of the Conduct of American Foreign Policy by David Gray Adler and Larry Nelson George, page 314. Quote, one of the first issues raising Jefferson was the practice of paying annual bribes, tributes. So they call it bribes. All right, they didn't they call it, all right, tributes to 4 states of North Africa, Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, and Tripoli. Regular payments were made so that these countries would not interfere with American merchantmen. A variety of local chieftains with the titles beys, beys, and pashas were wealthy from this custom, as over a period of 10 years, Washington and Adams, the United States paid $10 million in tribute and ransom. What is this in the book? You see the power? You see the power? This is, I'm presenting this so that you can see the gratitude, the power that we have. Why are they paying us $10 million in tribute? $10 million. Yeah, this is the Constitution and Conduct of American Foreign Policy by David Gray Adler and Larry Nelson George. That's referencing that. And this is also another reference. The financier, Jefferson's financier, Glatinin, referenced that as well. Between George Washington's administration and John Adams' administration, which is actually a period of 8 years. All right. Mr. Bey, why isn't this letter in our history books? This is the letter. This is a question about the George Washington letter. One of our students asked. Well, not one. Hundreds of students ask these questions. Mr. Bey, why isn't the treaty that George Washington talked about in the letter not in our history books? Mr. Bey, who are the Moors? Mr. Bey, why aren't the Moors talked about in our history books? Mr. Bey, why don't they want us to know about this history? Mr. Bey, are Moors black people? So what happened was, by presenting this information to the students, I invoked thinking. I raised questions. They don't want this. The fact that you raise questions, because that whole power structure falls apart. All right? Questions? As I look. Yes, please. To me? Well, What was the question? Yeah, nobody heard of. Ask the question there. That's the mic. Well, I wasn't a regular teacher. I wasn't a regular teacher. I was a substitute teacher. If I was a regular teacher, I wouldn't have taught this.
Good, thank you. It was up to curriculum. That's all.
No, this is curriculum.
I didn't.
Well, what did was I created a curriculum.
Right.
Over a period of 10 years to over 5,000 students, I created a curriculum. And when the students didn't have any work, when the teachers didn't leave work, I presented this. A lot of the questions came about, and I thank you for that. I didn't initiate the lesson. Students did. Mr. Bey, what is that on your head? I wear my car boots every day. So they would ask me, Mr. Bey, what is that on your head? Mr. Bey, where are you from? So those questions, as I would say to the students, a few thousand students, I would find, I'm Aboriginal and indigenous to the land. You're using big words. All right, let's go to the dictionary. These are 2 words that you are. Change the words, y'all. Teach them the words. Don't change the words.
Yeah, they
Aboriginal and indigenous to the land if you want. No problem. Let's go to the dictionary and read the definition. All right? So these are the type of things I would do. I taught 4th grade to 12th grade. 5,000, over 5,000 students. 5,000 students. In fact, I see some of the students today, walking and they remember. Quite a few, they remember the lesson. I had students, brother, in the hallway. I would teach on constitutional law for money, etymology lessons, geography. They will be in the hallway. Now, you don't have students in the hallway teaching lessons that they learned in the classroom. I've never seen that. Other than the lessons I taught them in the classroom. They would be in the hallway teaching their friends, lessons that I taught them. I'm walking to the class. Mr. Bay, tell me that we're not black. Mr. Bay, tell me that we're white. Mr. Bay, tell me that we're white. They're all. Hundreds of students walking by. Tell me that we're white. Mr. Bay. So this was, so I challenged them to think. Now, there were, of course, there cases, where students would, because our people have been indoctrinated into believing that they're black because of complexion. So they would, say, Mr. Bay, you don't know what you're talking about. We're black. Look. You're going to get that. And I got that a lot. All right? I even got that from Moor classified as Puerto Rican. All right? I was in a classroom. I remember the classroom, and one of the Moors classified as Puerto Rican. She said to me, "Mister, you're black." And I said, "Well, why do you call me black?" "Because of your skin tone." So I said, all right. There was other students. I said, let's say you have a Mexican, my complexion. A Cuban, my complexion. Dominican, my complexion. Colombian, my complexion. What would you call them? I would call them Dominican, Mexican. I said to her, I said, well, why would you call them Mexican, not black? Based on how you presented, you said that you call me black because of my tone. All right? Mexican. I'm using your line of reasoning now. That's all. Using your line of reasoning. Wouldn't this example, wouldn't that Mexican be black and not Mexican? No, Mr. Barry, is Mexican. All right, what about the Colombian? Colombian, Mr. Barry, what about black? Why do you call him Colombian and not black? That was interesting. See? Accent. Their friends, boys classified as nigger, color, black, that they grew up with all their life, running around saying they're black. I got the same accent as there. Now, teachers, I got you. One of the teachers, all right, from the area where your father's from, all right, the students never, my complexion or darker, they never called her black. They never referred to her as black. They referred to her as Nigerian. Wow. And never black. Why is that? Why did the students would call me black all day long, and I'm the same complexion, and they never called her black? Always Nigerian. Why? What do you think? Hold on. He's on it.
I was saying it's a sense of conditioning, and not only that, maybe they see you and they feel a relation to you, like they can relate to you, so they see you as more of a peer. So they're calling to you they're calling you for what based upon what they know. But when they see the other so-called Nigerian, you know, it's more of a separation or more of a distinction because they speak a whole other language.
Accent.
They're
speaking English, but accent.
Right. So it's not a close connection.
Right.
That's correct. You know.
That's how I saw it too. All right. But I just started analyzing. You know.
But the contribution to that, I do need to.
I do have a question. So you have a question too. So go ahead and see. We'll go with you.
The contradiction to that is that there are Nigerians who have worked very hard to eliminate their accent, but they still call them Nigerians.
All right. Good point. What about probably phenotype as well? What about phenotype?
No, they don't just assume to call them Nigerians. They only do that. They would only do that once they tell them that they're Nigerians.
Right.
Right.
They might call them black or even Africans, which I can tell you that any Nigerian, it is like an insult to call them black or African. You must call them Nigerian, and they will say, no, I am Nigerian, with absolute disgust on their face.
Well, let me make a comment to that. The part about they get offended if you call them African as well, because they know that you're not the name of, like of a continent of African, because Africa has 52 nations. 52 nations?
54.
54, excuse me. 52 here. They have 54 nations, so if you say I'm an African, well, no, you can't be. You have to say from where. So,
Nigerians,
they call
when they don't never talk, when they come from those countries, they never talk about like Nigerian or African. They talking like, well, I come from the tribe. They say tribe.
Family.
Yeah.
Nigerian
tribe. No other country always. They say when they're originally from there, they say, no, I come from the tribe of whatever name it is. So they never talk about how to. Well, yeah, I'm an African. No, I come from the tribe.
Because what they're doing is acknowledging their family. Yeah. And that's what we're saying even over here when people say that I come from the so-called Indian tribe, whatever, we're trying to get people to realize that those are simply family appellations. Stop calling them Indian. Well, that's a whole nother issue. Yeah. They're not nationalities. There's many people out here right now. I'm from the Yamasee Nation. Doesn't exist. I'm from the Washita Nation. Doesn't exist. It's a family appellation of Moorish here. And so all this does is divide us more, because now they're like, well, you shouldn't be brothers with the Moors. What you need to do is come and join the Yamasee Nation. You be Moors, but we're the Yamasee. And then all of our people go running in and sign their stuff, or the Cherokee, or any of that. Well, what's the other one? What's the one? Choctaw. Choctaw is a misabbreviation of chocolate people. Choctaw. When the Europeans came here, they couldn't pronounce your family operations, and they still can't. And so what? Who cares? I mean, really, that's how we all feel. So we have to have this information for this knowledge so that we can move forward instead of moving, give it to him, moving back. So it's very important. It's just very important to recognize that all they're talking about is family. It's a big problem, yes. They're very proud of the family appellation, as we all ought to be. But we all should not get confused and call the family appellation an independent, separate nation. There's only one thing going on this land, and that is the Great Seal, which is the Moorish nation, and the subordinate eagle, where we brought the established United States of America, not United States, to bring in foreigners and told them how they need to act on our land. It's not complicated.
Can I do something really, really quick? Can I do something?
She asked a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, because she's been
regarding to the War of 1801, I had this question.
Mm-hmm.
Being that the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is the longest standing treaty,
mm-hmm.
right? Did they make up any lesser treaties to go to war, to engage in war?
See, the war, the treaty that caused the war was the treaty Barack Obama mentioned, 1796, the violation of that treaty. All right, see, that's the treaty that's with Algiers, 1796, was that Karamali, Karamanli. He wanted to continue to collect ransom, despite the treaty. And he wanted 250,000 plus 50,000 annually, which caused the war, 1801. Barack Obama mentioned that treaty in 1796. But of course, he doesn't go into detail, just mentions it. What he mentioned about it, that's a little, no. That's major, because that caused the war 1801. This is part of the United States history that's not talked about at all. All right? So, 1812, 1801, then you have 1801 to 1805, all right, they call the first Barbary War, all right? And then you have that one, you have the second Barbary War. But they talk about War 1812, but they don't mention the Moors, all right? They don't, all right? So they don't, well, brother, the whole key is to not mention it at all right, so that we don't raise questions about it. All right? One thing. What do they say about the War of 1812? What do you learn about the War of 1812? That's what I'm asking. Hello?
All right, it's going out over here.
Okay, certain wars that we had to study from and
Turn it back on.
I didn't hear no black history.
Turn it mic back on.
Hello?
All right.
At the 1812, when I was going in school, I didn't hear no black history in the 1812.
What did you learn about the Moors in 1812? I mean, that in the lessons about.
I didn't hear any of the
War of 1812.
All I know is Civil War.
We learned about that we are Moors during the discussion, classroom discussion of Civil War.
There was no Moors. That was the 1812 war.
But I'm saying you just saying 1812 war. Right? You learned specifically about the 1812 war.
Right. I don't recall no
all right,
war.
You can't. All right.
Right. I don't recall no
war.
war.
We can have the conversation because I don't, unless you tell me what you learned specifically,
right.
I can't respond.
I didn't hear no black history in
No. What I'm talking about, not black.
Right.
Not black.
Right.
Moor history, not black. Moorish history. They're specifically saying Moor. In the textbook, I read out, past discussion Moor. All right? Because they're saying black, that's the cover-up. Black's the cover-up. See, their information is available, brother. What they did was they classified it as black. We're not looking for Moors originally, looking for black. They mentioned Moors during the discussion of the Spanish-American War.
I don't remember no war. I don't.
No, yeah, It's usually a general word, but I hear you. All right. Eddie, Rob, you have a question? I can tell you. Anyone else? Anyone else? David.
He had a saying during that war, millions for defense, but not 1 cent for tribute.
Yep, that's what we're talking about. This is what we want. That's the thing. When we talk about the debate and the legislator was whether to go to war, all right, or continue to pay the tribute. All right, they decided this was they continue to go to war. So they put, they pay the tribute. So they put millions for tribute and not sent to defense. That was Thomas Jefferson's position, was to put the money to defense, not paying us. Thomas Jefferson, why George Washington wanted to maintain, as I said before, the customary practice of paying its annual tribute. All right? Another question. I need you to see our power. That you can get, that you stop viewing yourself as, slaves and, all this during the 1600s. We are rising. We are the defeated nation of people that are rising back to power. Yes. This whole transatlantic slave trade story, absolutely. We are the Americans. We are the imperial potentate, sovereign grand commander, the imperial divan. This is who we are. All right? The imperial divan, the Shriners use your Moorish council of government as their organizational structure, the imperial divan. That's referenced in treaties you'll see in the book when it comes out. The imperial divan, D-I-V-A-N, all right, is used by the Shriners. That belongs to you. That's a Moorish council of government. Vizier. The Grand Vizier would be the head of the imperial divan. The Europeans use secretary, or some use ministers. Vizier, V-I-Z-I-A-R, or Wazir, W-A-Z-I-R, is analogous to minister or secretary. That's a high-ranking Moorish official. So you have Vizier of Education, Vizier of Health, Vizier of Defense. All right? So this is the Moorish government. So you have the imperial structure of the Moorish government. Now, the republic comes out of the imperial structure of the Moorish government. The separation of powers. The executive branch, legislative power, executive power, and judicial powers were all one into one body. It was invested into one body, one office. The emperor. The emperor possessed executive, legislative, and judicial power. The republic is the breakdown of the imperial structure, separated. The same government. It's not a different government, same government. It's just a breakdown of power. Legislative branch, legislative judicial branch. European Union found it nothing. What they found? What they established? It's your government, it's the world's government. The United States is an occupying body politic. That's not a government. The United States, what's the name of the government? Morocco. What's the name of the government? This government? Don't say United States. I don't know the name of the United States. The name of the government of the United States.
If they don't want to make sure ruling, give it to them.
It's on.
As far as I know, it's two United States. It's a United States corporation in United States Republic.
No. All right.
America and the United States are two separate things.
Let's clear this up, bro. Let's clear this up. They're occupiers. They're occupying our land. It must be very clear that we call them occupiers. Let me explain why. When you use the word occupation, you're invoking international law. When you use the word colonization, you're invoking international law. In 1960, the United Nations enacted the United Nations Declaration of granting independence to colonial countries and people. In 1990, the United Nations had the first decade of eradicating colonialism. All right? We're on the third decade of eradication of colonialism. When you use colonialism and occupation, you're invoking international law. That's why I don't say the word corporation. Because that doesn't involve international law. We want to go to The Hague. The Hague. World Court. Netherlands.
Gotta go with the Moor.
We want to go to World Court. We are a nation of people. Now, question. Name the ambassador, the Moorish ambassador, or Moorish revere that was at the legislation of the 14th Amendment. The greedy, people say we're citizens because of the 14th Amendment. Who represented us? No. Name the nationalized conscious law. Name the nationalized conscious law, all right, ambassador, all right, the Moorish ambassador, name him, who represented us in 1868. Name him. What's his name? Her name? Who? You think that is a Moorish ambassador? No. He was delegated that authority. He was delegated that authority to represent the Moors, all right, to give up Moorish power, all right, to put Moors under subjugation. You're saying that he was delegated the power to put Moors under subjugation of what's in them. You see that? There's what's in here? You're talking to me, bro. You're talking to me, bro. All right. All right. Remember, you got to see yourself as a nation of people. Name the treaty. 1868. When we were treaty 1868, where we agreed by treaty to be citizens of the United States. What's the treaty? Because we're going to do treaty, bro. We're a nation of people. Treaty 1868. Come on, bro. Got to understand international law. Understand international law. You have to view yourself as a nation of people. All right? This is why I'm presenting it, because you can put yourself in the proper perspective. All right? Yes.
Hold on, Mike.
Yes.
Is this why the United States, not the republic, but the corporation of the United States, is this why they've been elected for so long, because they still follow the law?
All right, let me clear this up, brother. Please, let me clear this up, brother. The name of this republic is the Moorish Republic, brother. Okay. Brother, I don't know no United States Republic, brother.
Okay.
I know it said, listen me out, I know it said, I don't know a United States Republic. Okay. The name of this republic is Moorish Republic.
All right.
That's the Europeans are pushing that. I'm a Moor, brother. I'm not pushing that.
Right.
I'm not a European patriarch, bro. I'm a Moor. The name of this republic is the Moorish Republic that comes out of the Moroccan Emperor, penal structure. And I said before, all right, The legislative power, judicial power, and executive power was collected to one, was vested into one office, His Imperial Majesty. The separation of powers came about, right? Because of our despotism was to separate the powers where one office will not have all the power.
Right.
This is our government.
Right.
This is the Moorish Republic. The Moorish Republic is an extension of the Moroccan Empire.
But I'm talking.
And it's not part of the United States Republic.
I got you. I'm talking about separate from that, this corporation that we in, right?
No. We're not in a corporation.
If most people in this so-called country get a birth certificate, right?
But that doesn't make the land a corporation.
I'm not talking about the land. I'm talking about the body.
I got one thing to say. I think this is what I was sitting in the place, right, and the brother came.
You have the mic, you guys.
You have the mic?
Oh, well, yeah. And the brother came up to me, and he said, yeah, you know, because the birth certificate.
Yeah.
Yes, the birth certificate, they got us up on the stock market, right?
Yes.
I said, how the hell they got me on the stock market? I'm standing here right before you. They got a piece of paper that's not me. I am not, no, ain't no straw man for Moor, no. They have a piece of paper that is a bond that they created, not you and not your mama. I'm standing right here before you as a flesh and blood being. So for you to say or think they got us up on the stock market with a birth certificate is an absolute error. You see, that birth certificate instrument, you must see it for what it is, which is a instrument that proves human trafficking, which is human trafficking, which is genocide, which is a piece of paper that's not me because I'm standing here. If you believe that it makes you who you are, you got to come out of that mental slavery. We don't give a jack what they wrote on a piece of paper because it's not you. See, they've done a lot of things, but it's got nothing to do with you. Why? Because that's not your jurisdiction. That's what you got to learn. And so they made up all this stuff to have you believe that it means something to you based on what? Your lack of knowledge that it doesn't.
Bro, this is what we're talking about world court, bro. Bro, we're going to take them to world court. All right? World court. Brother, we're not, according to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1787, we were not supposed to put in slavery, bro. Brother, they're violating the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. So if you talk about treaty violation, you got to talk about world court, bro. Well, we're not talking Supreme Court. We're talking world court. World court, not Supreme Court. World court. We're talking about treaty violation. They're violating the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Brother, we were not supposed to be put in slavery.
Basically, for the people who believe in that fictitious self that was created, then those are the ones who undergo that imprisonment, that slavery. So if you don't accept it,
brother. We can speak on the behalf of our people, bro. I hear what you're saying. We can speak on the behalf of our people. Are you aware, bro? When they put black nickel color on the documents at schools, hospitals, brother, don't you know that violates national and international law? We're not talking about you signing anything. The fact that they have it on it. Because it is a inducement to fraud.
Right. So how are they being penalized?
All right? Brother, they're not being penalized right now. We're talking about positioning ourselves to take them to world court. All right? We're not talking about this second today. We're talking about within the next year or 2 or 3 years. We have to position the people, all right, organize a structured government to take them to world court. I want our people mind in world court. World court.
What you're saying, you already got to take them to
the world court. We got to take it to the international court, right? Right? But if everybody thinks they're Negro, colored, and black, they can't go to the world court. They can't take that position. No, that's a mental slavery. That's the mental slavery.
Can I tell you what I said? My point that I'm making is that we can speak on behalf of our people, unconscious. What I'm talking about, Rob, is the inducement of fraud. Hospitals, schools, regulation scanners, jobs. They have the race and ethnic standards of federal statistics administrative reporting that was also enacted by the Office of Management of Budget in 1977, which is in the Department of Commerce. That's human trafficking. We can prove human trafficking, but I also have to be conscious. We can prove the inducement of fraud, right? Documentation that black men of color is an inducement of fraud, which is denationalization.
Yes, which is an international.
That's an international crime, Rob.
International crime.
We can speak on behalf of all our people.
That's right.
Let me say this. I am in no disagreement with that we can do so. Not negative about that. And that can certainly happen. What I think what he's saying is, well, we need more people. Well, no, we don't need more people to make that move. But at the same time, once it's done, there will be some of our people who will still want to be Negro, colored, and black. And that's fine, because these days and times issue is issue, ain't whatever side you want, go on it, because the shit's going down. You're either going to recognize your mothers and fathers by name and principle, or you're not. And nobody really kind of cares anymore, because the gig is up for everybody.
Uh-huh. Their father, his father, already came here and said, yo, he came up, y'all fired, and walk off. So that is their father to sell another plan. It is time for the people who landed in, who bring in, wake up, that's all. What more do you want? So it's done. And he's the front of the bus. And he walks away. So it's time to go to board. Please stand up. Well, goodness, last week, and I wanted to ask.
Oh, wow. Well,
it's on now.
All right. When you mentioned that birth certificate, too, I wanted to add this. There's many people going across this right now, getting a lot of finance from their brethren to make their birth certificate voidable, right? Or void, correct? Let me say it again. Many people are going with processes to make the birth certificate void, right? Well, here's the truth. The damn thing was void ab initio. So you got people out there trying to make it void. Ab initio means from the beginning. To make it void. It was void when it was, like you said, it's an endorsement of fraud. It was void from when it was established. But our people are out there trying to make it void, and there is a difference between void and voidable. But it was void ab initio, so we wouldn't spend our time, wasting our time, instead of doing what he's talking about, knowing that you are a national. What is your nationality? All these years, you want reparations, marching for that. This is the ignorance of us. It means repair a nation, reparations. What's the nation? Well, that's why you didn't get none, but you don't need to get one anyway, like you said earlier. But the point is that all the stuff we've been doing is pointless because we lack knowledge. No. This is our land. They didn't control it. No. Hold on. No, I gotta get this back. This is your land. You are not the original slave. You don't need 40 acres in the middle. The whole damn thing is yours. If you claim your nationality,
Tell them what that was.
I guess he's talking about the Homestead Act. Yeah, he's talking about the Homestead Act. All right. See, what they did was they covered up the Homestead Act, but the Homestead Act and the funding for that was transferred to the National Park Service. That's the money. You know, the historical restoration of properties and all the National Park Service. That money, that Homestead, that money was allocated to it was redistributed to the National Park Service. So when they also issued these mortgages, we ain't supposed to have mortgages, all right? So they suppressed the Homestead Act, all right? That's what he's referring to. The 40 acre and mule is laid relative to the Homestead Act.
Which doesn't apply to us.
All right, and then the Homestead Act is also tied to, you have the 13 article with the 20 sections. It deals with the 1330 parallel. All right, that's all tied into that. But, you know, we're talking about, you know, colonizing us on a certain portion of our land, and then the process where we gain the land. That was just a process of, you know, where that's a process of repairing. But they suppressed that. If they continue with that, we would be having these meetings today. Why? Because we would have the land back.
It's wrong. I want to say one thing. You know, what you were saying earlier about us representing our people, you know, to the World Court. As far as what the Europeans has done is fraud. As far as putting labels on them. Right? But even if we do that, it's the people that's unconscious. We can't proclaim the nationality for the unconscious people. They have to stand up and proclaim it for themselves. We can represent them, but they still have to proclaim it themselves.
Well, what I'm talking about, brother, is the use of black, Negro, colored, and African Americans in forms.
Yes.
So, brother, all right, hear me out. The race and ethnic standards of federal statistics and administrative reporting that was administered in 1977 by the Office of Management and Budget, which is in the Census Bureau, which is in the Department of Commerce. Commerce means trade. Yes. They're practicing human trafficking. We can prove that, brother, that's denationalization. Yes. So you can suggest that for all you people. We can show with a burial form, hospitals, jobs, recreation centers, and so forth, that they have black, Negro, colored census. That's denationalization. Yeah. We can prove denationalization.
Okay, so what you're saying is, even though you did prove that you denationalization, which we must do, and we got to stop bleeding our hearts on this now, because what he's saying is there's still some of our people who aren't going to confess that they're Moors. That's their problem. It's done.
You know what? I would say that they will. Why? Because we're going to raise the issue, the key. Brother, I'm saying that they will, because we're going to bring the issue to the world front. Yes. They will. Yes. That's what I'm talking about. World Court, y'all. Denationalization, World Court. Supreme Court, World Court. Elite was talking World Court. That's why they killed him. Elite, y'all know that's Malcolm X. Yes. He was connected with these very African nation states. He was preparing to take the occupying body politics, call the United States to World Court. That's why they killed him. That's right. He was talking about he denounced civil rights. He denounced civil rights. He said, no, issue is human rights. He denounced civil rights, man. Was he waiting for all people to become conscious? Was he waiting for? Bro, he was strategizing. Bro, we ain't got to wait for now, bro. We can show the inducement for and denationalization in World Court, bro. That's right. Which is genocide as well. Because black, Negro, color are not nationalized with any people on this planet. Now, prove to me they are. Who are occupying power? That black people of color nationality. Why do you use black people of color on the forums, y'all? Why do you use black people of color on the forum? Job, recreation centers, hospitals. Come on, talk to me, y'all. Talk to me, census, all right? They even classify nationality as race in the census. Question number 9 in the 2010 census. Chinese ain't a race. It's Chinese. It's Chinese a nationality or race. It's Chinese a nationality. It's Chinese is Senegalese a nationality or race. So what is race? As they're defining it, as they're using it in the race and ethics standards, how do they define race? It's a commercial concept, and it's in the office. It's in the Commerce Department. And we show it proven it's a commercial concept. It's in the Commerce Department with the human trafficking. We can prove human trafficking. So all our people, I'm talking about justice issues to all our people, world court. In order to apply certain laws, right? They're using that to maintain human trafficking. It's human trafficking. They never ended it. That's right. It's human trafficking. So we did that, yes. They're continuing it. So we're going to end here. We have to end?
Yes, about 5 minutes.
5 minutes? All right, another question? Yes, Michael. Here's a question over here. Sorry. Is it on? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I came in late. I'm not sure if it was already addressed. Okay.
Bring the mic down.
All right, cool. Yeah, I came in late. I'm not sure if it was already addressed, but speaking of Donald Trump, he spoke about not letting any. If he was president, he wouldn't let any more quote unquote Muslims into the country. Does any of that have to do with the fact that Moors are waking up and Moors are off this?
Immigrants or Muslims? What do you say?
He said Muslims, and does any of that have to deal with the fact that throughout history, throughout time, Moors have just always been majority of the time they're referred to as being Muslims?
Yes. It's a political. Well, they're using it. It's not. All right, be fair. It's not a political designation. The Europeans created it as such because Muslim relates to the anatomy of the body. Mm-hmm. Christian, karas, all right, which is the oil that is secreted in the brain that flows down to the sexual region of the body. So the Christ rising in you is that oil that rises from the base of the spine, all right, to the pineal gland. Right. What the Europeans did was suppress that into science and designated Christian, Jew, and Muslim as political classification. Which they're not. I think that the Europeans did that. Because Jew is Sauti. Right. Jew is George. So what I'm doing is going back to ancient reference meaning and function. What the Europeans have done was use them as political designation.
So also, I'm thinking, is this being used as a way not to, re-sign the treaty of peace and friendship? It's just one that's going over every 50 years.
All right, hold on. You I apologize. You're speaking like a subject.
Oh, yeah, don't worry. Yeah.
All right, we want to stop you from speaking like a subject. All right. Brother, you're the sovereign. Let's go. Yeah, you missed some points, brother. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship, we wasn't writing the Europeans. We weren't writing the United States to engage in a treaty. Brother, it was writing us. Samuel Huntington was writing His Pure Majesty. Samuel Huntington, President of the Continental Congress, 1980. Wrote letters to His Pure Majesty, Muhammad Ibn Abdullah, to engage in treaties of commerce.
Not 1980.
I'm sorry, 1780. Thank you. I said 1780. All right? Because they couldn't keep up with the tax payments, tribute payments. The treaty between England and Morocco protected the English colonial ships. I'm saying, why do you think I'm going through this? So we can see their position of power. We're not subject to them. They're subject to us. All right? That's why the history is so important. So you can see your position of power. That's a treaty. Bro, that treaty was a monument attached to them. That's us. Now it's big for us because, we oppressed. We're slaves right now, but I'm saying that wasn't great for us. Brother, that was for them. Because they couldn't keep up with the tax tribute payment. We want to say, oh yeah, United States, we want to, engage in a treaty of, peace and friendship with you, because we can't keep up with the tribute payments. Please, come back to, brother, where we going after us? You got to see your position in history, man. All right? Now, the question is, are we...
Is that why they continually allow this to call black?
That's it. That's why they push the black. Yes, that's why they push black. That's the key.
But the treaty is you.
And you are the superior party to the treaty.
Yeah.
You're the superior party.
Well, we already took care of everything, with the Constitution and all this other stuff.
We have to enforce it.
We
have to enforce and rein those out of order children in.
Yes.
That's what we have to do.
And can we also add
that really is, everybody's talking about peace. Really, we established peace when we established the treaty and then the Constitution, which is the law of this land. Sad part is that we're not enforcing the law of this land because that is what brings the peace. And as Abdullah said, we took the 3 departments of government, spread them out so that nobody could have extra additional power. And this is sitting here. Our family did it to protect and preserve our rights. It's not that the treaty was, that the Constitution was written for us. It was written for other citizens so that they would not molest you. And we are sitting here and won't even enforce the damn thing. It's the shot. That's the sad part. So it was written like that so that we would be protected. And that's why it's important for us to enforce, and that's why Prophet Noble Jew Ali is said that there's only one supreme issue, and that is to enforce the Constitution. And I bring that up because that Constitution actually protects everybody in whatever rank they are. It is the peace document, and it is written in the spirit of divine law. It's the most religious document out there.
The Constitution is what I'm talking about.
I would
say, obey the law. Enforce the law. You're safe.
I want to do something really quick. All right? I want everybody to sound off your family surname, slap an ill or a bay on it. It doesn't matter because it's a Moorish appellation, any derivative thereof. It's a Moorish appellation.
But
I want you to just sound off your family surname and put an ill or a bay on it.
Because Europeans are the ones who didn't have a name.
And stop. I want you to just yell it out.
I want to?
Yeah. You're over there and just whatever it is, just yell it out.
Right.
All right, now you hear, did anybody have the same surname? Did you hear your surname? Did you hear more than one? The biggest weapon these non-Europeans have against us is we hear all these different surnames and we think, oh, I'm not related to you, you're a different family.
Right.
Right? But here's the kicker. Over in Great Britain,
where they have all those modern Europeans sitting in our seats. All those people over there got different surnames, and yet they know they are one family. So as soon as we stop clinging to this separatism through various forms, especially this surname, and come together as one family, one with one mother's breast has given you stuff, all right? These modern Europeans will be able to pick us off one by one. Because the name of this game is the uniting of the family, which is the uniting of Asia, which is us. So we have to recognize that these surnames don't divide us, because we all have one free national appellation. Islam? And with that, we like to do something called Give Abdullah, Talib, Mosi, a big head. All right. And secondly, how many people are here for the first time today? Oh, the one? The one is Nigerian. No, not you. You said your father. Can you give him anybody else here for the first time today? Another one over here? Anyone else? Okay, brother. Huh? Oh, my phone. Sister Sharice, is my phone back there? Do you mind? You can bring it up. You did? There you go. Thank you, Brother Mufaz. Thank you, Ed Mufaz. There you go. I think I'm still on it. All right. Now, hold on. Brother Ali is in the house. Well, we haven't been here, myself, anyway, and Sister Annie for like 2 weeks, so it's good to see you all again. Julie, that's awesome. I know you got a part 3, right? We got to bring you back for part 3. Maybe not next week. We're going to do some other stuff. Yeah, and we're going to make it a series. The series up. Whoa. Who's music? That's all right. We're not finished yet. We have to do an invocation out, all right? We have to do an invocation out, and Brother Ali is going to be doing it this evening. Now, I just mic is good, right? And it's sitting in there, and make sure that it's going to just go right over there. So you might want to talk a little louder. Everybody, you excited?
Islam. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Repeat after me. Allah, Father of the universe.
Hold on. Are we facing east?
We have to face east, and that's it. We're using another room. But before we do this really, really quickly, real quick, I forgot something. It's a thank you note to everyone. Dear Ms. Rod, Sister Ross, thanks so much for the class donation. It was such a good help for my husband's funeral. And thanks so very much. And this is Geraldine Golden, and unfortunately he passed on. And we have to really thank Brother Gene and Carmen, because they actually made sure that the donations that you guys made got to the family, all right? So this is their thank you note.
Islam. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Repeat after me. Allah, Father of the universe. Father of love. Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector. My guide. And my salvation. My night. And my day. This for the Prophet, Ali, also known as Sheikh Sharif.